not sure they'll ever live to see a world without war. And that highlights how serious a problem war is. War has always plagued mankind, it's taken lives, but in recent decades, in many ways, it's become worse. In the decade between 1990 and 2000, over 1.5 million children were killed directly in war. 4 million children were disabled, blinded, brain damaged, or maimed. Over 12 million lost their homes. And in that decade, 1 out of every 200 children needed help to overcome the trauma of war. A United Nations expert noted that children have actually become targets of war, and that happens in 2 distinct ways. One, they will go out and they will kill children because of the profound effect it has on the people. And another is now they're using children as soldiers. Children as young as 8 years old, both boys and girls. They kidnap them, they manipulate them, they fill them with drugs, and give them machine guns and send them out to kill one another. Rape has also become a military tactic. In some cases, virtually all the adolescent girls in an area will be raped to create a sense of panic and to destroy family ties. And of course, famine and disease always follow war. Just reading those statistics is sickening. It's disgusting, and it should affect you that way. It's unacceptable that we live in a world where war is present like this. Let's refresh ourselves with some good news. Turn with me, please, to Psalm 46, and we'll look at verses 8 and 9. Psalm 46, beginning in verse 8. It says, "Come, you people, behold the activities of Jehovah, how he has set astonishing events on the earth. He is making wars to cease to the extremity of the earth. The bow he breaks apart and does cut the spear in pieces. The wagons he burns in the fire. An end to war. No more children being used as soldiers. No more little girls being raped as a war tactic. And yet these are not just empty words. This is not a band-aid solution. We're not talking about trying to cover over the wound of war and hope that it goes away. We're not talking about negotiating or trying to negotiate a peace treaty or a ceasefire in some region of the world. Notice in verse 9, Jehovah is making wars to cease to the extremity of the earth. That means a global solution, war completely stops. But how is Jehovah going to do this? Well, notice how comprehensive the solution is. If you look back there at verse 9, it mentions the bow, the spear, and the wagons. And those represent, of course, weapons and implements of war. So this ties in well with the thought there in Isaiah 2:4, where it speaks of swords being beaten into plowshares. Jehovah is going to do away with all the implements of war. Nothing that could destroy the peace or be used in a malicious way will be allowed to remain. And that would certainly help in getting rid of war. But it goes even deeper than that. What are the root causes of war? Isn't it because men are greedy? They want more power, they hate people? Ultimately, it's about the corruption of mankind. And that stems right from the top, from the rulership. So what is Jehovah going to do? Please join me in Psalm 110. Psalm 110. Looking at verse 5. It says, Jehovah himself at your right hand will certainly break kings to pieces on the day of his anger. Jehovah is not going to stand for this corrupt rulership. He is not going to stand for rulers who manipulate children this way. He is not going to stand for war. So he, by means of his kingdom, is going to replace all of these corrupt rulerships. And then, by means of his kingdom and his education work, he will be able to help all subjects of that kingdom root out any corruption in them, thus bringing a complete and total end to war and its causes. Now, let's not pretend you didn't know this, because you did. But just because you knew it doesn't make it any less beneficial. It doesn't make it less exciting. Because we're going to live forever in a world without war and without corruption. And that should excite you. So please, take that information, go out and help others to join us in praising Jehovah for bringing an end to war and corruption by means of his kingdom.